I just want to acknowledge where I'm coming from. I'm joining you from Gadigal land today here in Sydney, and I would like to acknowledge the people of the Eora Nation whose land I am on. I'd like to thank them for caring for this place for over 70,000 years, in which I have the privilege of working and playing and coming to you all from today, and acknowledge all the different lands that you're all joining us from, and pay my respects to elders past and present. My name is Stephanie Hawes, as you can probably see underneath my little head here, and I work in the Community Legal Education branch here at Legal Aid. I'm joined by two wonderful and knowledgeable people today, Sasha and Melissa. I'm going to introduce them now and ask them to tell me a little bit about their role and the organisation they're joining us from. So Sasha, I might hand to you first for that.
Great, thanks Steph. Hi everyone, my name's Sasha and I'm a solicitor with the Elder Abuse Service at Legal Aid New South Wales. So our team is a specialist service. We support clients in a specific geographical area, and for us that's the Central Coast and Lower Hunter regions. We support clients who are experiencing or at risk of experiencing elder abuse, and to qualify for our service, clients must be 65 years or older or 50 years or older if you're Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander. We're a multidisciplinary team, so we're 3 solicitors and a social worker, and we work together to provide a wraparound service for our clients.
Thanks so much, Sasha. What a great service. And Melissa, could you, I'm going to hand over to you now. Say hello.
Thank you, Stephanie. My name is Melissa Chaplin. I'm a solicitor with Seniors Rights. Seniors Rights is a community legal centre that services all of New South Wales. We give advice to clients over 65 years, or if First Nations clients over 50 years. We have lawyers that give generalist advice. We also have specialist lawyers that give strata law advice and retirement village living advice. Another part of our service is we have advocates funded through Commonwealth healthcare funding, and they assist older people that might have issues with an in-home care provider or be, a resident in aged care and have issues with the provider of that service.
Thanks, Melissa. And one of Melissa's wonderful colleagues did a webinar with us on Strata just yesterday, which is another webinar part of our Seniors Week. So if you'd like to check that out, please jump onto the Legal Aid YouTube to see that one. Just a quick overview, I've mentioned it briefly, but today we're going to start with a video. It's called Piano Forte. It shows a story of a girl called Eliza and explores some issues about planning for the future, and also issues that we'll talk about in more depth after the video. Then after that, as I say, I'm going to turn to very knowledgeable Sasha and Melissa to ask them some questions. You're also invited to put questions in the Q&A box if anything comes up while you're watching that video or afterwards. And as I said, if there is a bit of a tech issue with the video, there will be the link in that chat for you to go to YouTube and watch. So what we're going to do now is watch that video, and we'll turn off our cameras and mute ourselves, and please enjoy watching it.
Morning. How have you?
I couldn't sleep. Hey, leave that. I can't stand the quiet.
We've got to go soon. Come on, let's get you dressed. I booked us in for 3 tours.
3?
Well, first to shop around, get an idea.
Robert, I've told you, I don't need any ideas. Those aged care places are all the same.
They're not like they used to be. Lakeview's more like a resort. They've got these villas.
I don't need a holiday.
You want to find somewhere nice to live, don't you?
This is nice. It's home.
Come on. I'll take you for a camel at the Imperial after. It's 2-for-1 schnitzel day.
I'm really not in the mood.
But you love schnitzel. It's not going to be the same without Joyce around.
Look at them. Already clearing out her house. Have they no respect for the dead? I never liked her family.
Grandma?
We can say things like that when you're my age. No one cares. You should have seen them at the funeral. The son and the twin girls yelling and carrying on. She didn't have a will, you see. Prostate something.
Intestate.
Robert!
What?
Rude word.
So her kids get the house?
Yep, they get the lot. They're her closest living relatives. I don't think I saw any of them visit her in the last 6 months. All too busy with their own lives. She should have given it all to charity.
You were here for her.
Neighbours for 25 years we were. At least I've got a will. When I go, there'll be no fights.
I should probably think about getting one of those.
What for? You don't have anything.
We're hoping to buy a house.
On a paramedic's wage.
Well, Lucy just got a raise.
You saving much?
Almost enough for a deposit.
Hey, does Lucy still want... Oh, what did she call them? A mansion.
Nah, too far from the cafes. Now, she wants to renovate.
Oh, I bet she does.
I blame those TV shows. She's already talking about tap fixtures and colours for the baby's room.
You'll find something.
Maybe. Hopefully something with a backyard.
Oh, kids love it outside. Her piano. Oh, I wonder who got her piano. You know, sometimes I can still see our old upright against that wall. George tapping away at the keys. Little Ruth sitting next to him on the stool. Like peas in a pod they were.
That's all gone now?
It's all still in here. Maybe I should get another piano.
You don't even play.
I could put it against that wall.
And what happens when you move?
Move. Oh, yes, a piano is such a pain to move.
You know, I do have other things I could be doing today. Should I just call and cancel the tours?
No, don't go. I'm coming. It's good for me to get out of the house. Just give me a minute to get dressed.
You almost ready?
Just putting my shoes on. There. Now, can we still go for lunch? I'm starving.
If we hurry.
Did you get my ice cream?
A whole box of them.
Oh, you are a saviour. I've been throwing up all day. I can't get this taste out of my mouth.
Oh, Luz.
I'm going to be sick forever.
No, you're not.
It says in here that morning sickness is meant to go away after the first 3 months.
Everyone's different, hun.
I don't want to be different. I want to be just like this. All my friends had perfect pregnancies. They looked amazing. Tight little bundles and no fat. I'm 6 months in and I don't even have the glow yet.
Well, I think you look fabulous.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I should probably stop eating ice cream.
You go for it.
Oh,
Is it kicking?
I don't come too close. I smell like vomit. Here, this came for you today. It's from the lawyers. You're not in any kind of trouble, are you, Robert?
Nah. It's just Eliza's enduring power of attorney. But I was supposed to send this to me months ago.
So Ruth's been scratched.
Revoked. I'm it.
How did it go today? Did Eliza like Lakeview?
She didn't like any.
What? You didn't show her the villas?
Yes. She just isn't ready to move into aged care, says she doesn't feel old enough.
She's 78.
Still feels like she's 21, apparently.
Robert,
Look, she's doing okay at home. She can stay there a while longer.
the whole point of having Eliza in aged care is to free up your time so you can be with our little family. The baby and I are going to need you here.
I will be here.
And I will be at work.
You can still work. Look, I can't make her move.
Why not? You're her attorney.
It's not that simple.
Well, why don't you just put her name down on a waiting list? You can talk her around later.
You try talking her around.
As if she's going to listen to me.
She's managing okay at home.
Only because she has you at her beck and call. Robert, we have to stick to the plan or we are never going to afford a house.
The plan is the same. You'll take 3 months off,
Any
go
more
back
would
to
be
work,
committed
and
suicide,
I'll
and
look
we're gonna
after
need
the
money.
baby.
And Eliza.
And Eliza. I'll manage. At least let me try.
I'm sorry. I thought I'd never get out of the office.
I have to be back at 1:30. Should you eat?
Oh, no time to eat.
You really should have something.
Trust me, I've been eating all day. Come on, let's go.
This one's a bit small, isn't it? Where would we put the baby?
How much do you think the bank will lend us?
Not that much.
What about this? It's perfect.
Here.
Ah. Whew.
You did say you wanted to renovate.
I need some work, sure, but a little paint to start. We could be just like the block.
Look at the size of that backyard.
You could have a shed. Do you think we'll be able to afford it?
Let's just talk to the bank first. Don't get your hopes up. Oh, I've really got to go.
Yeah, we'll talk tonight. I'll call the bank.
See you later on.
Robert.
Sally,
Oh, this is your grandma.
they said she fell.
Yeah, she's stable. Your lot brought her into A&E and they transferred her straight to the trauma unit. Suspected brain aneurysm. They induced a coma a couple of hours ago. I've been trying to call you for a while.
Sorry, phone's been off.
She had this card in her wallet and during power of attorney, and I thought Robert was her husband.
Grandpa died last year.
Well, the card's a good idea, so we know who to call.
Who rang the ambos?
The guy at the piano store. She was complaining of being dizzy and then she fell and hit her head on the way down.
Piano store.
We've got her booked in for an MRI at 4. I'll take her down about 3. If you can flip over and sign that back page for me. Now you need to turn that thing off in here.
Sorry, it's Lucy. She's waiting in the car.
She's still sick.
Nauseatingly so.
Nice suit. Is that vintage?
Kind of. It was my grandpa's. We've got a meeting at the bank later. Finally found a house. I have to get going. I'll be back before 3.
Hold on, I'll just check with the boss if she needs you for any more paperwork. Sit with her. Hold her hand, let her know that you're here.
Piano store. What were you doing in there, Twinkle Fingers? Hopefully the aneurysm bit's a false alarm. The MRI's routine, nothing to worry about there. Remember this suit? Fits like it was made for me. You always said I had his build. you're going to love the place we found. It needs a lot of work, but it's got a huge backyard. I remember you said that was important.
There you are.
Lucy, what are you doing? You shouldn't be rushing around. Sit down, get your
Well,
breath.
there's no time to sit. I've been waiting in the car, calling and calling.
They made me turn it off.
Of course. She looks terrible.
Maybe you should just go alone.
No, he wanted to see both of us. You know, first impressions count.
I have to be back before 3.
That's plenty of time. I'm sorry, babe, but we really have to go.
Be back later, okay?
Hi.
Okay.
What's that?
I thought some music might help.
Whatever, just hide it when the neurologist comes around. He's a stickler for the rules. Have you seen a mirror lately? You really should get on home.
I just want to be here when she wakes up.
Could still be a while. Lucy called. She asked me to check in on you. She said you're not answering your phone.
You told me to turn it off.
Well, you can still step outside and call her.
She could come in.
Hey, don't shoot the messenger.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's tiring, you know.
I'm not used to being on this side. At least when it was Grandpa, there were 3 of us.
Isn't there anyone else who could come in and sit with her and give you a break?
Not really, no.
No other relatives? Lucy mentioned your mum.
No. It's just me.
Okay. Well, you really need to look after yourself then. Go home, get some rest. I'm here till 6. I'll call you if there's any change.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll even keep an eye out for the doctor.
Thanks, Sal. I'll only be a couple of hours.
No, it's fine. Take your time. She's in good hands. No change?
No, she's still under. The doctor said the surgery went well, though. I'll keep monitoring her and run some tests when she wakes up.
Who's with her now?
Sally sent me home for some sleep. I'll head back in a couple of hours. What are you doing there?
Just a couple of sketches. Look, I thought we could put a little deck off the living area.
The house isn't even ours yet.
But it will be. Robert, can't you just be a little bit excited?
Not right now. How have you been?
I'm still not sleeping. There's too much to think about. Have you called your mum yet?
No.
But you said you would.
And what do I say?
That Eliza's in a coma in hospital.
It won't make any difference.
You don't know that.
I know her.
Eliza is her mother. She has a right to know.
We haven't spoken in a year.
You don't know. She might like to come and help out.
I'm handling it.
You're handling it? Look at you. You're exhausted.
Yes, and I need sleep, not an argument.
This isn't an argument. I'm trying to help.
Well, it's not helping, okay?
Robert, what happens if Eliza doesn't wake up and you have to call your mum to say it's too late to say goodbye?
It won't come to that.
You don't know that. I never had the chance to say goodbye to my parents.
Oh, Luce.
Robert, it'd be nice to have the extra pair of hands around here. And we could tell Ruth about the baby.
No, she will just want to get involved.
But I want her involved. We're going to need help when we move house. I can't...
The house isn't ours yet.
Can you stop saying that? Don't you want this too?
Of course I do.
Then forgive and forget, Robert. It was just a piano.
Hey. Thanks for coming in. She opened her eyes.
Better.
I think she recognized me.
That's great. What's this music?
likes it.
How do you know? So anyway, the auction's at 11 tomorrow morning. Are you going to be at home or shall I just meet you there?
I cancelled my shift so I could be here. If I go to an auction...
Fine, I will go on my own.
Lucy!
Robert, how could you forget? I spoke to the agent. He said there's going to be a really big turnout.
That's not good news for us.
We'll be fine. We've got the deposit and the loan is all organised.
I'm not sure it'll be enough. Perhaps we should just wait until things have
I'm
calmed down.
not waiting.
But there'll be others.
Not like this one, there won't be, Robert. We'll be able to move straight in and fix it up later. It's so close to everything. This is the one.
But we'll be mortgaged to the
Who
eyeball.
cares? We'll be just like everybody else. What's wrong with that? If you're so worried about money, then why don't you start working a little bit more?
And how am I supposed to do that with Eliza in the hospital?
She hasn't always been in hospital, you know. You weren't working full-time before the accident.
All right, but who's going to drive her around, take her shopping, to the doctors?
Aged care.
Lucy!
No, Robert, I'm sick of it. I want this to stop. I want my husband back. I want this house, and I want things to put
Lucy?
in the house, and I want this home for our child, and I want her to have all the opportunities I never had. You know, you can buy so many opportunities
Lucy,
these
stop!
days.
Our child will have us. Two parents who love and care for him.
I don't know that that's enough in today's world.
It's more than either of us ever had.
Ugh.
Lucy? Lucy, sit down. Sit down. Give me a wrist. Jeez, your pulse is racing. Nurse! Nurse! Lucy, just calm down. We'll work something out, okay? I'll find a way to get you that house. Just focus on your breathing. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Nurse! Nurse!
On behalf of the owners and Knox Real Estate, I'd like to welcome you all here to 10 Miller Street today. It's a perfect day for an auction, ladies and gentlemen. If the inspection figures for this property are anything to go by, I don't need to tell you how rare it is to find a classic 1930s Queenslander in original condition in this postcode.
Yeah, I'm just getting there now, okay?
Bedrooms, one bathroom.
How are you?
loft
Are you
suite
feeling
parking.
better?
The floor plan is prime for open plan renovations. And if the
Yeah, I
renovation
know, I wish you
plan
would
doesn't excite you, then perhaps we can tempt you with the development potential of this large corner allotment at 600.
Look, Lucy, there are a lot of people here, okay?
Now, you've all been through the home.
I just
so
don't
before we
want
talking
you to get your hopes up.
Planning to bid
Your
here today,
expectations are so
set up
high
the
and-
contract, as you know, unconditional. So, are we ready, ladies and gentlemen?
Okay,
Let's start.
calm down,
I'll
it's
start
starting.
bidding at $300,000. That's $300,000. 300. Do I get $300,000? Thank you, sir, from the
Yeah,
gentleman in
300.
the front.
Like we
We
thought.
have $300,000 as a start. So let's get this show on the road. Do I hear 320? 320,000 for this once in a lifetime renovation.
I'm trying to listen.
320? Yes, thank you, sir. Red shirt at the back. 320. We have 320 for this fine property, and we are moving up. I am looking for 20,000 more. Let's bump it up to 340,000. Do I hear 340,000?
No, not yet. I'm waiting.
$340,000. Who's it going to be? 340,000. There. Thank you, sir, at the front. Okay. New bidder. Hey, thank you. Gentlemen on the phone. 350,000.
Right, we're in.
350,000. Going once. Do we have 360,000 out there? 360,000. Do I hear 360,000? 365. Thank you, ma'am. We have 365,000. You have right of reply, sirs. We have 365. 365,000. Do I hear any high bids? 375. 375? Thank you, sir. Gentlemen at the front. 375. Thank you, sir. Going once. Going twice. Going. 390 from the gentleman on the phone. 390. 390,000.
I'll call you
Are
back.
we content to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen? For this superb property, 390. Going once. Going twice. Sold to the gentleman on the phone.
Hello, Eliza. I'm Sally, your nurse.
Sally,
Yeah, we met yesterday when you woke up. Do you remember?
I remember Stephanie.
No, it's Sally.
Sorry.
That's all right. Things are very confusing when you first wake up. That going? Now, if you can open up your eyes for me, Eliza. Just keep your head still and follow this pen with your eyes. Good. That's good. Your blood pressure's a bit low, but that's to be expected. Is your headache still there?
Oh, comes and goes.
Well, if you need any more pain relief, don't be shy in asking. Now, I've just got a couple of questions for you, Eliza.
Okay.
Do you remember anything before falling?
Falling.
Yeah, you've had a fall and hit your head. Do you remember anything before you hit the floor?
The young man. Playing.
Playing. Still with me, Eliza?
The young man was playing the piano. An upright. We used to have a piano just like that. It was my husband's. He loved that piano. When he died, he gave it to my daughter Ruth to keep, to play, to remember.
Family heirloom.
She sold it. That piano was all we had left of him. He taught Ruth to play. He was a wonderful teacher. Technical, but patient. Joyce taught herself to play.
Who's Joyce?
My friend. She's gone too. Oh.
I'm sorry. Eliza? Were you there at that shop to buy a piano?
Pardon? No. No. I just wanted to hear their music again.
Hi.
I wasn't expecting to see you in here.
Didn't Robert tell you? I had a close call with the baby.
Was everything all right?
Yes, the baby's fine. I've just got to take it easy. Might be able to go home tomorrow. How are you feeling?
Oh, still up and down.
You know, Robert was in here by your side the whole time you were under.
So I hear.
Why is it that any time you need something, he just drops everything and comes running? He's not like that with me. If I need him for something, I have to go and look for him.
Maybe you need too much.
I need a husband.
You have one. I don't anymore.
So that's why you made Robert your attorney, to keep him close.
No, he's all I've got, Lucy.
There's Ruth.
Oh, yes, well.
I actually just came in here to say thanks for the loan.
The loan.
Yes, the loan for the house. We thought we'd have enough, but you can never tell with options.
How much was the loan again?
50.
50.
50,000. Yes, we really couldn't have done it without you. Eliza. Thanks.
Are you happy now?
Yeah, I suppose. I thought it might feel different.
It's not things that make you feel complete, Lucy. It's people. People make you feel complete.
I tried to get him to call Ruth while you were under.
Did you?
I thought she might like to come and help.
Oh, so you could get Robert back.
No, I just thought it was a good time for you all to make amends.
These things take time, Lucy.
I don't have time. This baby is due in 3 months and he hasn't even told her.
It's always about you, isn't it, Lucy?
No, it's about our baby. It's about family.
Family.
Can you just talk to Robert, please?
Oh, I'll be talking to him. Don't you worry. I was wondering when I'd see you in here.
Sorry, been flat out working. Lucy needs a rest, so I picked up some extra shifts. There's still bills to be paid. We'll be moving in 2 weeks.
I'll be on the move soon too. Aged care. Apparently I got a spot at Lakeview.
I put your name down. I was going to tell you.
When?
I don't know. Things just got so complicated after you had your accident.
I can make my own decisions about where I want to live, Robert. I have capacity. The law respects that, and so should you.
But you can't go home. I was only trying to help.
If I need your help, I'll ask for it. Perhaps you should have done that too.
What do you mean?
Oh, don't play dumb. The $50,000 missing from my bank account.
It was for the house.
Oh, I figured.
You were unconscious. I couldn't ask.
You stole from me.
No, I borrowed. It was a loan.
You took money from my account and put it into yours. As my attorney, you can't just borrow my money. That's stealing.
Oh, it's not like I blew it on the pokies or pissed it up against the wall.
Robert,
What? I did.
language.
I bought a home for my family, for Lucy. I finally made her happy.
And that justifies robbing me, does it?
No. I'm trying to find a way to pay you back. That's why I'm working more. I'll pay interest.
You can't organise your own loans with my money. That's elder abuse.
I never touched you.
Financial abuse. There are many forms. I've a right to report you. I could, you know.
Did you ever stop to consider that maybe I was short on money because I've been busy caring for you?
I never asked you to.
Yes, you did.
I asked you to be my enduring power of attorney, to help me when I couldn't help myself. Doesn't give you the right to come in here and start rearranging my life. I don't need to be rescued from being old. Where's my money now?
You've already used it on the house.
How could you?
Lucy wanted that house so bad. I didn't want her to think I couldn't give her what she wanted.
Lucy doesn't need you to be a good provider, for God's sake. She needs you to be a good husband, a good father. That's why she married you, because she thought you were good.
Lucy doesn't know, does she? I told her you loaned it to us.
Ah, I know. She came in here to thank me.
I thought it might help you to, you know, work out your differences.
What? This isn't about me and Lucy. It's about you stealing from me. Robert, I want you to tell her what you did.
I can't.
You have to.
But she'll
I'm asking you to be honest. It's for the best. You should know that by now. You tell Lucy, or I will.
But I can't.
Do it, Robert! And get me my 50 grand back!
Where do you want your toiletries, Eliza?
Oh, just in here.
Oh, I haven't seen you around here in a while.
Been working.
Oh, I'll be right here. Thanks, love.
Well, I'm just down the hall if you need.
So you're moving. You left.
I'm being picked up.
Off to Lakeview.
Yes, I've got a villa.
Is that all you're taking? I can swing past the house and...
No need, it's all arranged.
Oh. Okay. I told Lucy.
Good. And?
She's asked me for some space. Thinking time.
She's kicked you out then.
For the moment.
Maybe you need some thinking time too. So where are you staying?
On a mate's couch. Another Rambo.
I rang a legal service.
Was that really necessary?
Yes. What you did was serious, Robert.
But we're family.
It doesn't matter. It's still against the law. I've a right to take this further, and you could be in real trouble.
Please don't.
As my attorney, you are expected to act with honesty and care.
I do care.
But you lied. You stole. Aren't you thinking about the effect this might have on us? On your child, your family?
Of course I was thinking about the child. Who do you think I bought this house for? Lucy had her mind made up. She wanted that house.
But it was your choice. The buck stops with you.
Okay, I told you I would find a way to pay you back, and I will, all right?
I've already got my 50 grand back.
What?
Lucy, she borrowed it to pay me back. Went into my account yesterday. Seems like you now have a loan to your mother. I think it's time, don't you?
I'll call.
I would like that.
Did Lucy tell her about the baby?
I think that's why she's helping you. She knows the impact a mistake can have on a family.
So, what about us?
I'm revoking you as attorney.
I thought you might.
I trusted you.
And I let you down, I know. Obviously, I'm not responsible enough to make decisions for others.
What do you think parenthood is then, Robert? Playing ball in the backyard doesn't make you a good parent. It's the decisions you make. You are in control of somebody's life. Somebody is relying on you to make decisions for them, to act in their interests. And that's what I was expecting you to do for me.
I will be a good father.
Well, at least the baby will have the two of you. If you mess up, Lucy might get it right. And that's what I need. Two people. Two attorneys. So they can keep each other in line.
Okay, so we actually didn't lose any participants during that. We've only gained a few. So I hope everyone enjoyed that short film. It's a really good basis to now kind of ask some questions and have information given to us by very knowledgeable Sasha and Melissa. So I'm just going to close out of that video now and pop back up actually, I'm just going to keep our heads there. And please feel free to put any questions that you might have come up with during that video into our Q&A box, and we'll get to them. But I'm just going to start off with a few general questions, which I'm sure we all might have at the moment. So the first one is for you, Melissa, and that is, what is the main role of a power of attorney? We kind of saw some touches on what it is in that video, but could you tell us a little bit more about how a power of attorney should act, what their duties are, and maybe the difference between a power of attorney and an enduring guardianship or enduring power of attorney that we were told about in the show, in the film?
Thank you. Yes, well, an enduring power of attorney appoints a person to make financial and legal decisions, and it's an important document because it continues to operate should the older person lose capacity. And in that circumstance, the attorney is obligated to act in the best interests of the older person. The guardianship appointment appoints a person to make accommodation, medical and dental and lifestyle decisions, and that commences when the older person has impaired capacity, or they could have capacity but be so physically frail that those sorts of decisions need to be made. The commencement of an enduring power of attorney, you can specify that either starts straight away or only when the person loses capacity. And that's evidence from a medical certificate, from a doctor saying that they've lost financial decision-making capacity. In terms of obligations of an attorney, at law, it's called fiduciary obligations, but what that means is they must spend your money on you unless there's express authorization in the power of attorney document otherwise. And also they must be accountable with your funds. So they must keep records of how they're spending that money, but they must spend it on you and for your benefit.
Which we saw a little bit of in the video there. Maybe there wasn't so good record keeping there. So Sasha, we kind of heard a little bit about there can be different forms of abuse, elder abuse. Can you touch on what the most common forms are and what you see in your practice?
Sure. So elder abuse is defined as any act within a relationship of trust which results in harm to an older person. There are 5 main types of elder abuse. So these are physical abuse, which is an act that causes physical pain, injury, or a combination of both. So this could be anything from hitting, pushing, spitting. Physical abuse can sometimes appear as a change in appearance or attitude or behaviour. Then there's emotional or psychological abuse. So this is any act that causes emotional pain, anguish or distress, or is demeaning to an individual. So this can be things such as yelling, screaming, gaslighting, blackmailing, or talking down to. Next, we've got neglect. So this is the failure to meet an older person's basic needs, such as food, shelter, clothing, warmth, or essential medical care. This can be seen as locking an older person in their room or the house, not taking them to their medical appointments, or providing them with adequate care needs. Next, we've got sexual abuse. So this is any behaviour of a sexual nature done to an older person without their consent. This can either be physical interactions, but it can also be non-contact acts of sexual nature, such as making an older person view content that they're not comfortable with. And lastly, we've got financial abuse. So this is the theft or misuse of an older person's money, assets, or property. And this can be anything from stealing money out of an older person's wallet, standing over them at an ATM on pension day, or stealing funds from their account as a power of attorney. And for our service, the most common form of these abuses that we see is psychological and emotional abuse, shortly followed by financial and neglect.
Yeah, I think we saw, you gave a great example then of the standing over at the ATM or taking money out, which we saw happen to Eliza in that video. Thanks for that, Sasha. Some of those forms of abuse might be matters where, in addition to your services, police might be people that might need to be involved. Can you tell us what the police might be able to do if some of those matters are brought to them?
Yeah, so depending on the type of elder abuse that is being committed, the police can assist in some ways. So if an older person is experiencing a type of abuse that puts their safety at risk, such as physical abuse, they can always contact the police and request an ADVO, or an apprehended domestic violence order. If this violence is being committed by an adult child or family member living in their home, they can request that the AVO have exclusion orders. And what that means is that the person committing the violence can't come within a certain distance to the older person. And what that would mean is that the older person would need to leave the home. The other person would need to leave the home, ensuring that the older person stays safe. There are also instances where older people may have an adult child or family member living in the home, not contributing whatsoever and causing a hostile living environment, violent or otherwise. And in these circumstances, there is a notice that the older person can serve on their child, which essentially claims that they are trespassing and that they revoke permission for their child to stay with them, which would then give them a set amount of time to leave. And if they don't leave by this time period, the older person can ask the police to come and remove their child.
Yeah, okay. They seem like quite practical ways of getting help, and I'm sure situations which aren't uncommon.
Yeah.
And we also saw, you know, Eliza mentioned that she didn't have anyone, and she'd lost a friend who was living across the street. So isolation and losing friends and family can leave people to be very vulnerable. Is there other services around, apart from legal and police assistance, that we can advise people listening today and other people on to get help with isolation? Maybe I could turn to you, Melissa, for some help and guidance on that.
Yes, at Seniors' Rights, we have aged care advocates, and they can help people arrange in-home care in the home. So it's good to arrange those services, to have someone external coming in. They can check that you're okay, check if there's anything that you need, and they can help with care, transportation and other such services. So it's good to make use of that and ring the aged care advocates at Seniors' Rights to get that service organised.
Yeah, and I suppose just having some people about and other service and things can provide that company. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Sasha?
Yeah, look, we've got a wonderful social worker in our team that's also able to provide social support to our clients. This can include retaining our client in our service for a longer period of time to ensure that they're getting the adequate support that they need, and also helping getting them connected with other services that might be able to provide them support either in the home, psychological or socially.
Yeah, so that's great. So once perhaps the legal issue's finished, that social worker can work on building connections so we don't leave people high and dry. That's great. And Sasha, why do you think, I mean, in the video, Eliza seemed quite informed about what elder abuse was, and she didn't seem too upset to inform Robert that she was a victim of that and so understood it. But in lots of situations, there are barriers to people discussing it or perhaps even spotting it. Can you tell us a little bit about why you think that is, and what does stop people from getting help in the first place?
Sure. So only about 5 to 10% of the clients that come into our service actually access the service themselves, which shows us just how much people are reluctant to talk about elder abuse and how many barriers exist to speaking out. So for many people, particularly if it's happening within families, they think it's family business, something that you keep to yourself, don't want other people knowing. They feel incredibly ashamed and embarrassed, or they don't want to get their family or children in trouble. And I think, you know, some of the other things that stop people from getting help could include the fact that they may be dependent on their abuser. So they may have no one else to care for them. They're afraid of what might happen if they lose that support. It could also be the issue of cognitive decline. So they may not actually appreciate the level of abuse they're experiencing, or may not know how to reach out for help. They also might not be able to use technology. So physically, they can't access the support they need because they just don't know how. And like Eliza, they might be isolated. So it may just be them and their abuser. So like I mentioned earlier, they might be scared or embarrassed to speak out. And it's really difficult for people to recognise the abuse, let alone accept that their own children or family are causing them harm. So they feel that shame and they think that their experiences are isolated and that they'll be judged if they speak out. But this isn't the case. And, you know, any type of elder abuse is not acceptable, and help is available. So there are ways that they can overcome this. I would say realise that you're definitely not alone in your experiences and that this is happening so much more than you realise. There was a study done recently that showed that 1 in 6 Australians over 65 had experienced some form of elder abuse in the last 12 months, but only 1 in 3 reached out for help. What that means is that 2 out of every 3 people just suffer in silence. There's absolutely nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about. So find people in your lives who you trust, whether it be a family member, a nurse, a community worker, a doctor, your neighbour or a friend, and start by confiding in them if you're not ready to reach out to a lawyer. But know that when you do speak with us, we can't force you to do anything you don't want to do. A lot of older people are really worried that if they disclose information to us about what their child is doing, that we'll automatically call the police or get them in trouble, but we don't do that. All we'll do is provide you with the information that you need to know your rights and your options. And then if you're ready to pursue those, we can help you.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good to know. And also, I'm sure there's people tuning in today that are support workers or, work in the legal space as well. And it's really important that we're attuned and we're asking questions and being able to recognize those issues when we see them. Because as you say, there might not be people willing to help. People might not be willing to get help themselves. So if we can issue spot and advise on that, that's really great.
100%.
There was a couple of mentions of other issues, legal issues in that video, one of them being a will, which we heard about early on. And I think Robert also mentioned he should get a will. Can you, Melissa, tell us a little bit about why people should get wills done, where they might go to do that, and what they should think about when they're appointing someone in their will, and those important decisions to think about?
Yeah, thank you. So it's important to have a will no matter what the size of your estate. Even if you have a small amount of cash in the bank, for example, in a leasing, your will would appoint an executor who has authority to deal with your estate. Your executor can provide a copy of the will, the death certificate, and the bank may ask for an indemnity, and for small funds, get those released and end your lease arrangement. If you own more assets than that, say you own your own home, it's important to have a will. Your executor will apply for probate of your estate, pay your debts, and then distribute your surplus to your beneficiaries. The most important thing about a will is you get to say how you want your estate distributed. There is provision in legislation for certain people to make claims, but again, you can address that with a statement in your will as to why you may have not provided for those persons. In terms of having an executor, you can have a trusted individual who's good with finances, or two people, or you might appoint a professional, so the New South Wales trustee, a private trustee, or a solicitor. They'll want to charge fees for the estate, but that might be appropriate for your situation. They should be experienced with finances, have the ability to instruct a lawyer regarding the administration of your estate in accordance with the terms of your will, and be able to do it in a relatively efficient manner so that the estate is duly distributed. The normal period is about 6 to 12 months. In terms of once you've made a will, you should review it if a major beneficiary passes away, or your executor passes away and cannot act, or you have any major changes in your circumstances. So if it's been some time, say over 5 years, it's probably good to just check your will with a lawyer to check that it reflects your current situation.
Yeah, that's great. We're having some really good questions come through, and I'm going to leave some of them for our question time because they are a bit more standalone. But one did just come through about a will, and I might ask it now. If we don't know the answer, that's fine. It says, does Australia recognise overseas wills or know where to look for them?
Mm-hmm. So wills, what will happen there, and I do get asked that question often, what if I have assets in New South Wales and Australia and assets overseas? You really need to check with a lawyer who has experience or knowledge of the overseas jurisdiction to check if that country will recognise an Australian will. Otherwise, you might need two wills, one that complies with the laws here and one that complies with the laws in that overseas jurisdiction.
Yeah, so best to get advice on that one. Okay, I'm going to turn to a bit more power of attorney question. And Melissa, you might have some comments on this. Eliza says during the film that she's going to change her power of attorney. Would someone in New South Wales need to do that if they wanted to revoke or change their power of attorney, and what should they think about if they're doing that? There's also a question that's come through about, which you might touch on, I think, in your answer, about what happens when someone doesn't have any person that they can appoint to be their power of attorney or their enduring power of attorney.
Okay, so it's recommended if you want to make a new power of attorney that you revoke the previous one, and it's recommended that you do that in writing. There is a form available on the Land and Property Information website where you set out the power of attorney form that you're revoking and you sign it, and you have it witnessed by an independent witness over 18, or you could have it witnessed by a solicitor. You need to serve it on your attorney, so you need to serve it by registered post, keep the registration slip and a copy of the revocation as proof that you've done that, and make sure the revocation goes to anyone like a financial institution that might hold the original. When you make a new one, the important things to consider in appointing a new attorney is, are they capable and trustworthy? They don't have to be a family member. It could be a friend, or it could be a professional such as a solicitor. It can also be the New South Wales trustee or a private trustee. So you can think about that if there's no one appropriate in your life to fulfill that role. And you can also have one person or two people to act jointly, so they must agree together and sign together on legal documents, or jointly and severally. So they would consult with one another, but one can always act individually. So these are the different options you can talk about with your solicitor when you draw up the document.
There's another question on that, and you've mentioned it briefly already, Melissa, but do you think that there are some pros and cons about appointing a joint power of attorney versus a sole or a substitute power of attorney? And Sasha, I'm happy for you to comment on that if you have any.
I think with joint power of attorney is the main thing. You need to be very confident that they will agree together to make decisions. Otherwise, the document will get frustrated. And if you lose capacity, someone will have to apply to the tribunal to have it reviewed and determine who will take on the responsibility. The benefit of them is if you are confident that they will agree, they can act like a check on each other. So you just need to weigh up your individual circumstances as to whether it's appropriate they be joint. Your other option is you can have one individual, and then if something happens to them and they're not able to fulfill the appointment, so for example, they pass away or lose capacity, the substitute would then step in and act as your attorney.
Yep. So I suppose it is a kind of case by case, your family or your circumstances, and we should get advice on that. Did you have anything else to add to that, Sasha? No.
No, that covers it.
And I popped in the chat the link to that form that Melissa's referred to. It does seem to be quite a straightforward form, so you can click that link if you need. And Sasha, what in kind of thinking about all these issues and perhaps what could arise or people should be attuned to, is there anything that people can do now to kind of help to protect themselves against financial, specifically elder abuse?
Yes, so there were a few examples in the video that we watched on how older people can protect themselves. So I might start with those and then just talk a bit more generally. So from Eliza's perspective, I guess being able to actually identify that the financial exploitation is a legal matter. So a lot of people don't recognise that there is a legal solution to their problem of family kind of taking money in that respect. Understanding the limits on the power of attorney could be really useful. So understanding exactly what they can and can't do with your money. And then I guess, as Mel touched on, appointing 2 or more attorneys acting jointly or even severally, which would enhance accountability. But more generally speaking, there are a lot of things that you can do to protect yourself financially against financial abuse. So the first thing is just knowing how much money you have in your bank account. Don't provide your PIN or your internet banking details to anyone, unless, of course, it's a power of attorney. Don't permit anyone to register you for internet banking without your knowledge. Ensure that you read your bank statements, and if you have any questions, go directly to your bank. Prior to loaning money or moving in with a family member or going into aged care or reviewing your enduring power of attorney, make sure that you always get some independent legal advice. And I guess understanding that independent legal advice is advice from a solicitor that you pick and that you see alone. So you don't have to be in the company of family. It's something that you can do independently. Things like checking with Centrelink before loaning or gifting any money to family members because it might affect your pension. Ensure that any agreement between family members regarding money is clearly outlined in writing because relationships can sour, which we've seen time and time again. And then things like monitoring your capacity. If you feel as though something is starting to feel a bit wrong or different with you, feel comfortable in going to your GP and having a chat about it and, potentially requesting a capacity assessment. Things that Mel mentioned, like reviewing your wills and your enduring power of attorney, every 5 or 3 years or when things change, just to make sure that they do reflect what you want. And then I guess joining more social groups, staying active, avoiding social isolation. And if you ever have any sort of concerns, definitely report any potential abuse to a lawyer or a police officer or someone in your life that you trust that can support you in reaching out in the proper methods.
Yeah, they're all really good points. We have had one question that I know that we do a lot of work here at Legal Aid. I'm sure Melissa can comment on it too. Any understanding or any differences within Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities and services that we provide to them in the elder abuse space? Sasha, did you want to comment on that first, maybe?
So are there any differences in the support that we provide or?
Yeah, or additional services or maybe different issues that you see?
Yeah, so look, we definitely support a lot of Aboriginal communities. There can be some differences in the way that this works, particularly with the way that family structures work in Indigenous communities. A lot of the time they are very, very reluctant to speak out against any sort of abuse because it is very common for family to just help family and extended family and kind of give out that money. So it's almost expected of the older person to benefit, everyone under them in that way. And particularly there can be some issues when it comes to things like payouts for either stolen generations or things like that, where they come into a large sum of money and then a lot of families kind of standing there and waiting to be on the receiving end of that as well. So we do try to give some advice around ensuring that they're able to protect their finances, whether that means making it inaccessible to themselves by putting it in a trust account and only having a small amount of money accessible to them, to therefore limit the amount that they can give out to family. We do try to provide that additional advice when it comes up and just, I guess, tread carefully and handle it with the respect that it deserves, in understanding that different cultures kind of experience abuse in different ways, but it's rampant everywhere. So, yeah.
And there's also that social worker aspect of your team that can help with those services as well. Melissa, did you have any other comments?
We have Brian out at our service, and he's mentioned similar issues. The other issue I'd point out is with funeral insurance. It tends to be offered quite a bit to First Nations clients. So we would just make them aware that, it's far better to put some money aside in a bank account than enter into funeral insurance, because you can definitely end up paying more in premiums than the amount of cover being offered.
Yeah, no, great comments. Thank you for answering that. There's also some questions about fees and other estate amounts, I suppose, being imposed by a trustee and guardian. They are a bit kind of outside what we're talking about today, only because they are imposed by the trustee and guardian, and I'm not too aware of them. But if you do have any issues about what you're being charged in terms of fees, additional fees, please feel free to bring that information into Legal Aid or to Seniors' Rights, and we can look at that and make sure they are fair and being applied properly. Sasha, I'm going to turn to Melissa. A question about the video we watched. What might have happened in that film if Eliza had lost her capacity? So, for example, not woken up and been in the state similar to what she was prior to her fall. Would that have changed decisions about how she could manage her money, and what might happen in Australia to do with the power of attorney and those documents?
So what would happen there if Eliza had lost capacity? If someone concerned with her welfare became privy to the theft, so they became aware of it, anyone concerned with her welfare, so that could be the medical professional that was assisting her, could be a social worker at the hospital, could be a family member or a friend, bring it to the attention of the Guardianship Division of the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal to have his power of attorney reviewed, and then he would be removed and a new financial manager would be appointed. So that could be another person that wanted to put themselves forward, or it could be the New South Wales trustee and guardian. So that would have been the appropriate procedure to protect her from any further theft.
Great. And as I say, there are lots of people in the community, health workers, lawyers that might be in tune, well, we hope are increasing their awareness of these issues. So they might have spotted them. There is a question just on funeral insurance here that I'll touch on. Apparently, Mob Strong is another organisation that provides a lot of advocacy around that funeral insurance. There's also a question on funeral insurance if anyone is in a place if anyone's in a place to help to recoup some of the costs, and I suppose those premiums Melissa mentioned, there are lawyers at Legal Aid that are working on matters to do with that, I know for sure, and I'm sure we've worked with Seniors' Rights on that issue as well. But if you do believe that you've been in a position where you've paid too much, or maybe it was unlawful or illegal, perhaps you've been oversold products, entered into too many contracts or sold contracts that aren't appropriate to you, please do reach out to get specific legal advice on those issues you're facing, because they are definitely matters that we can help with. And Sasha, if Eliza's daughter Ruth had not paid that money back to her, which we saw at the end of the video, how might have Eliza been able to recoup that money from Robert? Because as she said, it was taken without her permission.
Yeah, so the answer to this question varies slightly if the person has capacity or if they don't. In this instance, Eliza has capacity, so she'd need to revoke the enduring power of attorney, which she did, and it's easily done. So a letter saying that she revokes it, and then a copy of that needs to go to the bank and to the power of attorney. If it's a worthwhile amount of money and the money is still available, she can try to get that money back, provided it hasn't been gambled away, for example. So what she'd need to do is commence proceedings in the Equity Division of the Supreme Court for breach of a fiduciary duty. An attorney always has to act in the best interests of the principal, which is the person that they have the power of attorney over, and that is one of their duties. So that would be, I guess, the path for her to recover that money. If she doesn't have capacity, there would need to be an urgent application to the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal to revoke or review that power of attorney, and then have a financial manager appointed. This can either be another person or the New South Wales trustee and guardian. If there was an opportunity to recover the funds through the legal proceedings, then there would also need to be a guardian appointed or the public trustee with a legal function to commence those proceedings on behalf of the older person. In Victoria and Queensland, their tribunals do have that function to recover the funds, but sadly that's not something that the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal does, hence the need to go through the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Maybe some room for law reform there in the future, we hope.
Yes.
But yes, getting help from a lawyer if you have capacity, and then hopefully if there isn't capacity, that issue's seen and other ways can help to recover. There was a comment by Robert that, he hadn't just gambled it up the wall. So I suppose that would change if the money is gone. One other question, and I'm not sure if it's something that you might be able to help with, someone's asked for comments about advanced care directives. And I think another question about management when people decide to turn off life support, so decisions around those end of life issues. Melissa, did you have any comments on that we can provide?
An advanced care directive is something you would enter into when you had capacity with your doctor. New South Wales Health has a precedent form, which is very good, and it sets out what invasive treatments you would accept or not accept if you're in certain conditions. It's important to make one because your guardian has an obligation to act to promote life and protect your welfare. So we recommend if you do make one that you attach it to your guardianship appointment, and then if something happens to you and you're not able to communicate, your guardian can show the medical professionals what your wishes are in terms of refusing certain invasive treatments. So it's a document that refuses treatment. There's no legislation that makes them enforceable in New South Wales at the moment, but there have been cases before the courts where if they're clear, they have been upheld. So it's better to have one, keep it with your guardian, and you could put a copy on your My Health record as well, so your doctors and the hospital are aware of them.
Great, that's really good to know. And I've actually just found that form and popped it in the chat. It seems like the form that you mentioned, Melissa, has part of the form is actually a bit of information about what a directive is and things to think about. And then the second part of that brochure is actually an option to complete it. So area to fill in that information. So I put that in the chat if anyone would like to download that. I haven't seen any other questions. Did you have anything to add to that, Sasha?
No, that covered it. Yeah.
There's no other questions that have come through. I think the only kind of other important information that is worth sharing is how to get in touch with our services and other services that might be worth noting. So, Melissa, I might turn to you to tell us a bit about how to get help from your service.
Okay, so we're Seniors' Rights. We can give assistance on all the areas that we've covered today. And our contact number is 1800 424 079. So you can ring us and speak to a solicitor for legal advice, or you can speak to an aged care advocate for advice regarding in-home care or aged care. So do make use of us if you have any questions.
Great. And that numbers should be showing up on the screen now. Sasha, do you want to tell us a bit about?
Sure. So we're the Elder Abuse Service. As I said, we can only support clients who are living in the Central Coast and Lower Hunter area. But if you or anyone you know is in that area, you can contact the team directly on 4324 5611. Or you can email us at eldersservice@legalaid.nsw.gov.au. Alternatively, if you are based anywhere else in the state, you can just give Legal Aid a call through our law access number, which should be up there. And all of our solicitors can give any sort of support in elder abuse. And if they do have any tricky questions, our team is capable of supporting the organisation in that way.
Yep. Just a question for you, Melissa. Is the Seniors' Rights Service means tested in any way?
No, it's not. So for legal advice, it's not means tested. You can ring us and get free advice and assistance across all of New South Wales.
Great. So I put the elder service number in the chat as well as that email. But as Sasha said, if there's any elder abuse issues or other legal problems that you think of, it doesn't only have to be in that geographical area. There's lawyers all over the state at Legal Aid that can help with those issues. And of course, we turn to our colleagues that are specialists in that area if we need advice or guidance with those. And especially some of those questions around documents and important money or important information being shared or lost, we can help with that as general civil lawyers. One more question's come through. Do you need a doctor to sign off on that advanced care plan? It didn't seem to be a section on the form, but Melissa, do you?
There is a witnessing section and the doctor does witness your signature. So yes, do draw it up and discuss it with your doctor and have them witness your signature. Yeah, that's the best.
And I suppose it would be good to talk to the doctor about what are those actual invasive or treatments are, so you're making informed decisions on that. That's all the questions. I've put our last slide up, which is a quiet plug for Legal Aid and other webinars and also our podcast channel. I hope you've all got something out of this webinar today, and there's a couple more elder and senior rights matters webinars coming up. So if you would like to subscribe to our alert, you'll be informed of all of them, as well as all the recordings are put on our YouTube page. So if you have someone that would benefit from watching this, please do send them the link to our YouTube page. It's uploaded quite quickly after we end today, so please share that around and share the information that's up on there. And we have lots of great podcasts if you're into podcasts as well. I'd like to finish off by thanking Sasha and Melissa for joining us today. Your knowledge is very, very appreciated. Lots of thank yous coming through in the Q&As, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.